All right. Good evening, everyone. I don't know if, yes, I am online. Anyway, today, before we get into the new year, I thought it would be great to share with each and everyone in the audience about interview essentials. What I find out is that many people tend to start thinking about interviewing, changing jobs, changing career, start thinking about their New Year's resolution. And just to have proper protocol, my name is Yvonne Ponce, if you don't know already. I am a professional career and image consultant, trainer, and coach. So that part is done. So I'm going to share with you briefly and quickly as possible about interviewing essentials. Before the interviews, what to do, during the interviews, and after the interview. All right, so let's go. I hope you can see me. Let me pull my phone down a little bit. All right, I hope you can see me. Can you see me? Somebody let me know if you can see me, most of my mouth or whatever. Anyway, before an interview, one of the first things you need to think about is what does your resume look like? All right, so you need to get your resume together because before you even start thinking about going on a job, you have to send a resume to start job seeking or start looking for particular jobs in organizations you want to work for. So make sure that resume is tight. Make sure you have your references. So I would advise you to get a portfolio before you go on the interview. Have your resumes, have your references, contact information, just in case they want you to fill out an application before they interview you or after. The worst thing in the world to do, people, is to pull out your phone trying to get the phone numbers of references. But before you use a reference, make sure those individuals know that you are using them. The worst thing in the world for them to get a call and say things like, who? Who are you talking about? Why? What? Job? All right, so we don't want that to happen. So in case you're scheduled for an interview, make sure you have your resume in a portfolio, a nice folder, simple folder, nothing fancy is necessary. Don't spend extra money. Get a dollar folder, but let it be nice and neat. Have your references in there. Have your resume. Not one copy, not two copies, maybe three or four, just depending if you didn't find out ahead of time if more than one person was going to be interviewing you. Oh, on that thought, once they call you for an interview, do know the moment you pick up that phone, you're really actually doing an informal interview. They're pretty much sizing you up just by the way you answer that phone. So while you're job seeking, make sure, one, you have a professional voicemail. Two, that you clear your voicemail. Okay? A lot of us don't even clear our voicemail. Three, make sure that your voicemail is not long and lengthy. And because they don't have time, they want to get on to the next person and the next person. All right? So now you have your references, you have your resume. All right? Not only references, contact information. If at all possible, have a reference letter or two, just in case. Be ahead of the game. All right? And make sure you have a professional email and your email has your name on it. When you're job seeking, you need a professional email. If you want to have the wonderful email that speaks to your friends and your entertainment life, that's one thing. But separate your job seeking email. It should have your name. Why? Because if they saw your resume some time ago and they want to go back to that resume, they might remember your first name or your last, but if it's not a professional email that has your name, they won't be able to find you. All right? Moving right along. And when you're job seeking, let me just say this, always check your spam because sometimes people try to send you to come in for an interview and it goes in your spam, or sometimes they leave a voicemail and you never check your voicemail. All right, so make sure you be proactive with checking your voicemail. All right, newsflash. When you are job seeking, you might have maybe didn't think of this ahead of time. Be careful what you put on Facebook. Be careful what you put on Instagram, and Google yourself. You will actually find out what is being said about you, or if anything is being said, good or bad, if you Google yourself. Believe it or not, right? You didn't think about that. And yes, some companies do look up your Facebook page. So bear in mind what you put on Facebook about where you went, what you done, and who you done it with. All right. So be careful with what you put on Facebook, Instagram, and for those professional people, get a LinkedIn page. And I'm going to move on from there. All right. Now you've got this interview and you're preparing for it. You need to have an outfit. What's the sense of job seeking if an opportunity come your way? And today, they don't always say, can you come 2 weeks later for the interview? Sometimes they say, can you come tomorrow for an interview? Or can you come today, this afternoon? And wow, you don't even have an outfit? Remember my famous quote that I say I love? My popular quote I love, and I'm going to read it again. It's better to prepare for opportunity, right? And not have one than I have one and not be prepared. And just so you know, that's by Young Junior Whitney. So if you're preparing and you believing that your job search is going to pay off, you need to have certain things in place. And one of them is your outfit, what you're going to wear, and know what to wear. You know the type of company you're aspiring to work with. Google them, find out about them, find out what the people wear there, find out what the culture is. As much as you can find out about them, don't only Google them, look on YouTube. It might be some things said about the person that's interviewing you. Find out how many people are interviewing you, if you can, and the person's name. So you can Google them and hopefully bring that up in the discussion. That is very impressive. Another reason you need to find out about the company before you go on an interview, because one of the famous questions they always ask, what do you know about our company? Another question they always ask is, most of the time, I won't say always, is why do you want to work with us? You could work with the next company that's similar to us. Why us? So bear that in mind. You got to know the mission statement. You got to know things about the company so that if that question is tossed your way, you'll be able to confidently answer it. So try to find out as much as you can know about a company. All right? Look at the LinkedIn page of a person that's going to interview you if you get the name. Look at their LinkedIn page. See what they're about, see where they came from, see things that they are interested in. All right? So you can get ahead of the game. Review your resume and know everything you put on that resume. Some interviewers really ask you questions based on what you put on that resume. All right, so know your resume like you know the back of your hand. Practice interviewing if you can with a friend, a family member, or even in a mirror. Practice, practice, practice so you can get comfortable. All right? And don't be afraid to allow family members and friends, or even your child, for that matter, critique you. It's better they critique you and you correct things prior to going on an interview than not knowing that you're saying the same thing over and over for each question and you're not adding anything extra. All right? And then when you get to the interview, you flop or you fail and you want to knock yourself in the head. All right? All right. Some other things you need to do is write down your skills and your strengths, because those are some things they're going to want to talk about. Your skills, your strength, and guess what? Write down some things that you might consider a weakness, because that is a famous, famous, famous question they always ask. They always ask the question about what are your strengths and what is your weakness. I'm still trying to figure out why they want to know my weakness. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter. That is one of the famous questions they ask, is what is your weakness? So think of a weakness that is not incriminating, that will not cause you to be eliminated. All right? Think of a weakness. You could say, don't say the cliche, I'm a perfectionist, I'm a hard worker. Those are cliches that everybody say. Come up with something new. Come up with something different. That's what everybody say. And you know what? They expect you to be a hard worker. But let me tell you something. You don't want to tell anyone you're a perfectionist and then you get the job and you're doing everything but being perfect. All right? So let's not go that far. You could say, I'm a very, very organized person, which could kind of cause me to do my work a little slower than people expect me to. But I learned that not only should I be organized, but I need to be um, have speed and more expedient when I do my job. So I'm learning to try to balance out the two. All right. So always show that there is an effort in learning. You could also say something like this: I know Microsoft Office, but I'm a little weak in publishing and doing spreadsheets. But recently, I took up a course, or recently, I began to view YouTube videos to enhance my computer skills. All right? Yay, that's a good one. I don't think it would incriminate you unless you want to be an IT tech. So don't say anything that's very critical to a job that you should have already mastered, and that's why they're hiring you. All right? Think about the particular job and the skills that you have and how you may apply it to transferable skills. For instance, if you worked in a bank, but now you want to work with a nonprofit organization, you have to think of the skills that you have that can be transferred to a nonprofit organization and yet still be needed. For instance, in the bank, you might work with customers. In a nonprofit organization, you may never worked in a non-for-profit, but you still have customers. So how you were able to handle customers successfully, solve problems successfully, be a critical thinker, think quick on your feet successfully in the banking industry, you can transfer that to also the nonprofit industry. So think of skills you might have that you might not have worked in that industry, but it could still be impactful to the industry. All right? So, of course, you know I'm looking at my notes because I have a lot of things to say. All right? Write down your skills and strengths. Write down how you added value to an organization that you previously worked for. And use this acronym when you're thinking of how you added value or you had accomplished something great. Think about the situation. For S is situation. T is the task. A, so I'm spelling out, in case you don't know, I'm spelling out the word star. S is for situation. T is for task. A is for activities that you have done to make the company successful, add clients, add it, increase a better flow with the work or with the operation or with the work activities, or you increase clientele or solve the problems. You solve the fax machine getting stuck problem, all kind of things you could have done to add value. All kind of things. Just think. I usually sit with my clients when I'm doing resumes, or I sit with different individuals when they're interviewing, and they can't think of how they added value. Think about how you added value. Think of all the things you have done. I don't care if you was a frontline person. I don't care if it's an entry-level job. I don't care if you felt your job was insignificant. If you think hard enough and long enough, you will realize that you added value. And when you are going, they feel it. So do know your presence has added value in small ways, in big ways, in many ways. All right? Okay. You're preparing for an interview. You got the opportunity, but you should have been doing this already. Look up what they call behavioral questions. Behavioral question. A lot of interviews now, they do behavioral questions. Some people call it situational questions. So questions that might ask, what if this happened? How would you handle it? Has there ever been a time you had to utilize critical thinking? Has there ever been a time you didn't get along with your boss? How did you resolve that? All right? What they call situation. Have you ever had a time where there was a client and they weren't satisfied with your work? How did you handle that? So it's a lot of situational questions out there. There's tons and tons. Just Google it. You Google everything else. So Google behavioral questions. Google questions in general. The basic question, tell me about yourself. Most interviewers start with, tell me about yourself. Do you know how many people can't answer that question right away without stumbling or thinking or flopping over their words because they don't know what to say? If they ask you that famous question, tell me about yourself, start with what you recently done or completed. If you recently completed a school, all right, start there. If you're in a school, enhancing your knowledge, your skill, or taking some course that's very critical or strategic to a job, start there. So that's how you do it. Just start with what you're doing recently. Or you can start by making sure that you tell the story of why you want to be, how you come to wanting to be in this field of working with developmental disabled clients, working with professional clients, teaching them how to find new industries to work in, working as a coach, working as a basketball coach, working as a professional coach, working as a teacher. How did you come to wanting to become a teacher? You can start there too, but don't let your story be too long before you get to the point. All right? Don't make that mistake. Thank you. Also, I don't know if you ever heard of a sales pitch. You need to begin to craft a sales pitch. The sales pitch, in a nutshell, tell people who you are, what you can do, and how you can benefit their company. All right? That's what a sales pitch does. And some people call it a sales pitch. Some people call it a 3-minute pitch. Some people call it an elevator pitch. Some people call it a 30-second commercial. It could be anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. No more, but definitely less. The better you get in your practice, the less time you will spend selling yourself. You are really a product. Your skills that you have accomplished are products. So you can have a sales pitch that sells them. My name is Yvonne Ponce. I have over 15 years in human services where I work with senior executives to entry-level workers, training them how to go on their next job or move in their career to their next career trajectory. All right? Sales pitch, simple and to the point. And then you could just tell them why you want to talk to them. And of course, you're going to thank them for their time and you're going to introduce yourself and your strength. Share some strength, share some of what you know about that company, if you do know anything about the company, and share why you want to work for that company and why you think you would be successful working on their team. That goes in a sales pitch. Have that ready. The sales pitch will definitely benefit you when they ask you that famous question again, tell me about yourself. Or at the end of the interview when you want to finalize your last statement. All right? So, be prepared to address gaps in your resume if you have employment gaps or you seem like you job hop. Already have that answer for them. Already have that answer. Don't stumble on that. It's going to seem like you were lying or you are lying or you're trying to think of something and make up something. So already have that in advance to address the gap and to address if you seem like you were a job hopper. If you don't know what that means, look it up. All right? Okay. Good point. Remember to Google how to get where you need to go. Not only Google it, see how, in terms of direction, but see how long it would take you. Give yourself enough time. People, don't be late. Be at least 15 minutes on time. Try not to be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I think I did that once. I was 20 minutes late, and it seemed like the people were flustered. They were trying to figure out what to do because they were still in the midst of interviewing someone. So try to be 15 minutes if you got to go to the restroom. Make sure your hair is tight, everything look good, no lipstick is on your teeth. Make sure, your tie is straight if you're a man. Make sure your lapels are laying down. All those things that could be deal breakers. Hello, deal breakers. Oh, I almost forgot. Work on your handshake. All right? Make sure you shake firmly, but not hard. Sometimes men tend to shake women's hand too hard. One time, this man shook my hand like he was a gladiator. So bear that in mind, okay? Don't shake women's hands too hard, but do shake with a firm handshake. Don't shake like a fish either, all right? Don't give me these 4 fingers. Don't shake like a fish. Shake like you're confident. Walk in there like you're confident. Work on your body language. Do what I call a walk that talk. When you come in that room and they open that door and you greet yourself, you should grace that atmosphere with your presence. They shouldn't be like, oh, I can't wait to get this lady out of here. And newsflash, as soon as you get into the office, they're already asking the receptionist, how do you look? How are you behaving? What do you got on? All right? So when you sit down, waiting for the interviewer to call you in, sit with grace and style. Turn that cell phone off. Make sure no alarms are activated. Even if the phone is off, the alarm can still go off. Don't let that happen. Deal breaker. Deal breaker indeed. Don't even have it on vibrate. Off, off, off. Don't even check your phone. Any checking of the phone, do it prior to you coming in the building. All right? That's why I say have your references already. Just do not look good. All right, let me make sure I didn't leave anything out. Oh, remember this. Please put your clothes in the cleaners, especially if you smoke. Do not, please. Oh, I can't say this hard enough, strong enough. Do not wear clothes that you smoked in. Terrible, terrible image. And they judge you the first 4 or 5 seconds you walk through that door. They judge you. So do not wear clothes you smoked in. Do not drink alcohol the night before. Do not go in the hallways full of reefer smell and have that in your clothes. So the best bet is get a suit that is new or a suit that is clean from the cleaners. All right? No drinking and smoking. Chewing gum does not get rid of smoking smell, especially with a person that does not smoke. All right? There are some tricks to that, but I say, what do I say? Google it. But I would say the best bet is to don't do it. And do this too. Sleep early at night. Because the worst thing in the world is to go to an interview looking tired. And ladies, I know some of you may not wear makeup, but makeup does a face good. I'm telling you. It really wakes your face up, especially in the morning time, and it does help you look a little more perky. And remember to bring your smile. So now I'm turning my page over because now that I addressed that, you have any questions, you know what to do. Inbox me. I'm about to lose my phone, but you stay right put if you're there. Inbox me. All right. So now you're at the interview. You might be a little nervous. Get over it. Just deal with it. Everybody's nervous when they go on an interview. I talk about interviews all the time, and I'm still nervous when I go on an interview. Because I know I really got to show and prove. I teach this stuff, and I'm still nervous. So, nevertheless, nervous or not, bring your A game, okay? Bring your A game. You got to bring your A game. All right. So some things I have during an interview, right? You get there, you walk in confidently, you got your resume, you got your portfolio, you wrote down some questions, behavioral questions, you practiced them, and you also better write down questions that you plan to ask them. I say as a rule, write down about 10 questions that you would like to ask them But of course, you're not going to ask them all 10. All right? Never do that. You're going to ask them about 2 or 3. So we'll talk about that, I think, a little more later. But one, arrive early. You know that. This is the opportunity to show that you're a match. So make sure when you're selling yourself based on what their job description is looking for. Excuse me, people are trying to chime in through phone. So if I lose you, I will come back on the scene. Anyway, make sure you're selling yourself based on their job description. Not only the job description, job requirement. The requirements, the achievements, the accomplishments, different things that relate to their requirements, you need to sell that. All right? Have your folders, your several resumes, have a nice pen, 2 pens in case one is not working or one is leaking. The worst thing in the world is to bring a sloppy pen that's smeared, right? So be aware of your nonverbal cues. Make sure your body language is tight. I hope you can see me. Your body language is tight. All right? Don't sit like a nerd, all tight and looking afraid with your hands folded. That is not a good way to sit because it doesn't speak confident. So make sure you sit with your body relaxed, but not so relaxed that they think that you're not serious about this opportunity. Make sure your facial expressions aren't twitching. Make sure you are not doing things with your hands and messing with your clothes and twirling your hair like Wendy Williams do. She could do that. She arrived to the point that she want to arrive. But don't twirl your hair, and make sure you're not shaking that leg. Try to get those things under control when you're practicing at home, okay? Okay, I think you said okay back to me. So be aware of that because they say body language and nonverbal cues speaks volume. It speaks volume, and people are judged on that. And most people, I think it's like 78% of people watch your body language more than what you're saying. You can sound confidently, but if you don't look confident, it can be a deal breaker. All right? Take cues from the interviewer. If they ask you a question and you're talking too long and they seem like they want to move on, or they seem like they want you to elaborate, do that. And also, when you share some answers to some of the questions, make sure that you give examples. A lot of times we throw out attributes or accomplishments like a laundry list, but we don't give examples. So make sure we give examples. For instance, they could say, well, have you ever had to motivate a team to get a job done? And then say, yes. And if they say, they shouldn't have to say yes, so what did you do to do that? You got to say yes. On my last job or on my current job, I motivate the team that I have. There are times I have staff that's not always on point or on in sync with what we have to do, the goals and directives, and so they're a little laid back or disgruntled, and I have to use some methods to get them motivated and get them to buy in the new goal that we're trying to achieve. And give them 2 or 3 things you do. All right, so give them examples. Personalize your example when you answer some of the questions. All right, pretty much all the questions. If you have an example from a previous job or from a situation or from a current job, try to give examples. Don't be overbearing with the example, but give enough so that they can feel satisfied. All right? So take your cues in that way. Don't make up answers if you're unsure. Sometimes we don't understand the question, so it's okay to ask them to rephrase the question. And it's okay for you to repeat the question to make sure if I'm hearing you right, you're asking me such and such and such. All right? And then if you have to ask them, can they rephrase the question? You might have to ask them if they can rephrase the question. If they can rephrase it, then that'll be good. But try to listen carefully so that you can get the right answers. All right? Try to listen carefully because you don't want to keep telling them to repeat it. All right? Because then that doesn't look good. All right. Prepare to use your sales pitch. Remember I told you about your sales pitch the other time? Prepare to use that sales pitch. If you don't know all that goes into a sales pitch, you can Google and sales pitch. Sales pitch come from years ago, many years. I don't know how many years ago, but it comes from people that salespeople that it's supposed to be like you're in the elevator. A salesman is in the elevator and he sees you on the elevator and he says, then you see that person that's a potential buyer and you have time from the first floor to the top floor to sell your product, and you're supposed to sell your product so that's the same thing with a sales pitch when you're selling your skill to get a job. You're supposed to nail it. You're supposed to get them interested in listening to more, wanting to hear more from you. All right? This could go well for job interviews, and not just with tell me about yourself, but why do you want to work with the company, your uniqueness, your strength, how you added value. Any question that's centered around that. Your 5-year goal should not be something that totally different than what the company is offering. Your 5-year goal is to work with them. Hello? And not to advance yet, let's first get the job to work with them where you are or what you're applying for. Okay? Think about that. Remember, you're going to interview to sell them you, not sell them you in terms of what you could do for them, not so much for what they could do for you, even though in the back of our head, we know we're interested in what they could do for us too. And that is the case too on certain high-level jobs. But on the average job, you want to just focus on what you can tell them you can, like they're interviewing maybe 10 or 20 other people. So you want to be remembered when you leave there. All right? So answer questions in a positive way. Never answer with just yes or no. And don't force them to ask you to elaborate. When they ask you, do you have a question? Make sure I'm sitting on top of your shoulder. Don't you dare say, no, I don't have a question. Everything was said. You better answer a question. Let me say that again. Hear ye, hear ye. When they ask, okay, that's it for our questions. Do you have any question? You better have a question. If you don't, it will seem like you're not interested. It will seem like you didn't know much about what they are interested in hiring someone for. It will seem like you are not enthusiastic. It will seem like you didn't come prepared. You always have a question, okay? Okay. All right. So let me move on. Questions, I said already prepared 10, but you might ask them only 2 or 3, depending. If the 2 is answered in a thorough way and another question can spin off of that question that you originally asked them, that's even better. You can ask them a question based on how they answered and what they said to your previous question. Or you can I crack myself up. Even if you're not laughing, I crack myself up. Or you can ask them a question based on what was discussed. There is people that just want to get in touch with me while I'm doing this. But that's okay. I am not answering nobody's phone because I'm almost done and I got a few more things I would like to say. Okay, every time they do that, my phone want to fall. But I hope you can see me. I'm almost done. But anyway, let me look at my paper. I'm over 50, so let me look at my paper for the next thing. All right. You ask your questions, and now you're kind of coming to the conclusion. You know what? A lot of people forget, is to ask them, what is the next step? Will this be a last interview, or will people that they select will be called in for a second interview or a third one? What is the next step? And not only that, when do they expect to hire someone? Because this way you know Are you expected, if they select you, to start in a month or 3 months or 6 months? Are they expected to call people in for a second interview? And if so, are they calling people in for a second interview in a month, in 2 weeks, in 3 months? And that's good to know, because you know that what will happen if you don't ask that? You're going to be sitting by your phone, checking your email constantly, sitting by your phone, checking your email, not wanting to go out or do anything because you're hoping that they call you. But you didn't know they weren't calling anybody for a job to start until 6 months, or they weren't calling for a second or third interview until 2 weeks. So know that ahead of time, so you won't be waiting around. And then when they call you for an interview, before an interview, always ask them, will you be interviewed by one person or more than one person? This way you can prepare the extra resume, or you could get a sense of how it might feel to be interviewed by more than one person. And guess what? If you want to know how that feels, I've been on interviews where I was interviewed by more than one person, but I was also interviewed by more than one person at the same time, but also at other interviews, more than one person in the same day. So that's good to know too. If you might be doing three different separate interviews in that day with one person each time, or one interview with 5 people. Trust me, they feel totally different. So you want to be prepared if you're going to be interviewed by 5 people, and you want to get, if you can, all 5 people name or 3 people name. This way, heads up, you can Google them, or you can LinkedIn them, or you LinkedIn them, or is that a word? LinkedIn them. Is that a right way of saying it? Or you can look them up on LinkedIn. You know what I mean. Or you can YouTube them. I did that for someone. I YouTube I went on LinkedIn and looked up all 4 or 5 people that were going to interview me. And I got a sense of their background. I got a sense of what they like. And I got a sense of what their career path was. All right? So that's good to do. Think about that. Because you want to be as prepared. You can never over-prepare for an interview unless you fry your brain and it make you get brain freeze at the interview. And you never want that to happen. All right? Now that you know the next step, because you asked them what is the next step to the interviewing process, now that you know when they expect to hire someone, now they're going to say, will that be it? And you say, I just have one last thing. It's not over yet, Yvonne. Nope, it's not over. And that is the time you say, I have one last thing. I don't know how many people you interviewed before me or will interview after me. But what I want to say, now that I interview with you, I am even more so excited about the opportunity to work with you. And I am more so excited about the opportunity to utilize whatever skill or whatever expertise that they are looking for. You need to mention that. You need to wow them that you're so excited. This is a dream come true, an opportunity. And I'm just more excited now about working with you and your team. And I believe I will be an asset and you won't be disappointed. When you are expecting a phone interview, how do you handle phone courtesy? Let me say this. When you do a phone interview, first of all, wake up, get some sleep the night before, because usually the phone interview is scheduled. Someone is asking me this in case others don't know. Someone is asking me this. Get some sleep the night before. This might sound funny, but I'm going to say it because it happens to me. Don't eat dairy, not for the stomach, but because dairy creates mucus. Make sure you be mucus free, because the worst thing to be on the phone grunting and coughing or sniffing because you got a lot of mucus. Have a smile and do be dressed up. Dress for a phone interview just like you are in person. Believe it or not, it does something to your posture and it does something to your confidence. And now we're talking about verbal confidence that comes through the phone. Also, practice speaking a little softer so your voice could be a little less harsh sometimes, especially if the interview is in the morning. Make sure you speak confidently. Some people may have to project their voice because they speak too soft. Make sure you don't speak too fast or too slow to bore them, and you don't even know they're sleeping on the other side and snoring, and you don't even know it because they mute their phone. So make sure you're very articulate in voice projection, because you are being judged by your voice and what come across and displayed through that phone. Have those same questions prepared. Show equally, or if not more, enthusiasm in your voice and even in your posture, because they need to hear that through the phone. Make the phone interview conversational, because it has to be done where it engages them, like I'm hoping I'm doing now, engaging them, keeping them attentive, and make sure that they are clear on everything you're trying to convey through the phone. I hope I answered that. Make sure you answer the phone professionally when you ask for them. Make sure you are in time. Do not be rushing, trying to get yourself together. Get up early or get prepared early. Have your resume in front of you. Have your references. Everything you would do in person, have that in front of you. Your credentials, your degree. Know your resume back and forth. Like we said, front and back, because they may be asking you questions from your resume. And guess what? Know your resume. If you got 20 years back on your resume, which you really don't have to, but know it from 20 years back very well, because I had an interviewer that literally asked me a question about something I had on my resume, and that job really should have been taken off, but it was from 15 years ago, and I was so shocked that she even asked me about it. And she was like, yeah, I want to know about that, because I need somebody that can pass audits and prepare for an audit and be very detail oriented. So I even told her, wow, I'm so surprised you went back that far. And it's okay to have a little humor, even in person or over the phone, but cut to the chase with the humor, and take again your cues from the interviewer. If they seem very serious and rigid, you become very serious and rigid. Not too rigid, but you know what I mean. If they seem all about a professionalism, you do that. If they add some humor, make sure you chuckle. Don't let them add some humor and you still being all serious. That might be a judgment call of whether or not you will fit with their team. So bear that in mind. I don't went long enough, so I'm going to quickly go through the last thing of after the interview. If you can, make sure you get a business card if you can. If the interview dynamics went very well, ask them for a business card, or ask if you could get their contact information from the receptionist or the front desk person, because you don't know what they call her. So you might want to say just the young lady in the front that greeted me, can I get your contact information, or a business card? And then you may ask them, can you follow up with them in a certain time to see where they are at with the interviewing process. All right? I should be charging you all. No, but I love you. But anyway, after the interview, of course you send a thank you letter. Try to send it within that week, and try to think it out before you just send it. Because thank you letters are no longer just to thank them. It's another opportunity to sell yourself. It's another opportunity to show your interest. It's another opportunity to answer a question that you might not have answered so well. You might elaborate and answer that question better. It's another opportunity to invite them to ask you more questions. All right? And of course, again, I said it before, make sure your voicemail is not full. Check your spam, because you might be getting a job offer. And another thing, if you move, make sure you have a forwarding address or you find a way to call a reception or receptionist or whoever, you can leave the information to send your resume again with your change of address. I had moved and a company was trying to get in touch with me, and they didn't email me. Surprisingly, they mailed me the old-fashioned way. And then they decided to email me after not getting, I think they got the letter back, which was strange. So it's a good thing that they did mail me. Oh, thank you letters can be emailed. They can be attached Word document, or it could be a card, good old-fashioned card that you pick out from Dwayne Reed's or a store will probably speak more volume today. Years ago, if you mailed a letter, it started seeming like you were dated and wasn't savvy and up and current with the new way of emailing and doing things. But now they're getting so many emails and it's oversaturated that your thank you letter might get lost in an email. So you might want to send them an email thank you letter, and you might want to send them a card in the mail. All right? Maybe do both or do the one. All right? So bear that in mind. Now, when you go home after the interview, make sure you debrief and see what you could have done, what you've done well. You can maximize on that, what you could have done better. Definitely you can rectify that and make sure you tighten that up. Always debrief, even when it comes with questions. All right? So good luck with everything. I wish you the best. And if you want to inbox me any questions, feel free. My name is Yvonne Ponce again. I'm a professional career and image consultant. And if you want to be coached privately for job search, job seeking, or anything regarding career, I'm open to doing that for a small fee. But feel free to inbox me. Take care and have a blessed night. And I wish you the best, very best with all your endeavors. Have a good evening. Bye now.